All the students of class 8, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome back once again to your chemistry online class. In the last lecture I had taken up electronic configuration and I hope you have practiced it. The second unit test are now being scheduled for the next week, that is most probably from the 7th of September. So start preparing for it, and mind you, be honest with your work, because that is what is going to bear a foundation. Otherwise it will be difficult for you in the next class. So let's quickly revise once again the electronic configuration, how the Bohr-Berry scheme that we follow, and how do we write the electronic configuration of the various elements. Electronic configuration, I have told you, is the distribution of electrons in different energy levels or shells in the order of increasing energy around the nucleus of the atom. This I have already told you. What do you have around the nucleus of the atom? You can imagine the structure of the atom having the nucleus and then surrounded by the energy levels or shells or orbits, and the electrons are distributed in these orbits in the increasing order of their energy. And how they are arranged, it is according to the Bohr-Berry scheme, which gives the maximum number of electrons that can be accommodated in a shell of an atom. So for example, for the first energy level, we have the rule or the formula that we take up for calculating the number of electrons that can be present in a shell is 2n square. Yes, this is 2n square when n is the shell number, and then for first energy level, if n is 1, that is for the first orbit, when n is 1, how do we calculate the maximum number of electrons that can accommodate in that shell? It is 2n square into 2. n you place 1, it is 2 into 1 square is equal to how much? It is equal to 2. Then for the second energy level, I have told you the maximum number of electrons that can be accommodated is 2. n is 2, that is n is equal to 2, and this is square, that is 2 4s are, it is 8. This I have already explained, and correspondingly in the third shell, fourth shell, and so on. So that is the maximum number of electrons that can be accommodated in a particular shell. And for the outermost shell of an atom, according to this scheme, more than 8 electrons cannot be accommodated, even though if it is having a capacity to accommodate more electrons. So I told you these are the different energy levels: first energy level, second, third, fourth, and so on. And the formula that is followed for calculating the maximum number of electrons that can be accommodated is 2n square. That is, in this shell, first shell, you can see how many it is. The maximum that can be accommodated is 2. Is it clear? It is 2. Then for the L shell or the second shell, it is 8. Then the third shell, M shell, it is 18, and then correspondingly 32, and that keeps on rising. But for any atom, if the outermost shell of atom is like the fourth, even though the number of electrons that are left to be accommodated are more than 8, they will not be accommodated in the last shell. Last shell will always be containing 8 electrons. Is that clear? So we have different rules which follow it, and you will keep on understanding things when they are given with examples. So for attaining stability, that is to exist in a form that that they can remain as atoms, they follow the octet rule, that is, or the duplet rule or the duet rule. That is, atoms attempt to obtain 8 valence electrons includes most atoms. This term we will study today, that is the valence electron. That is, I've just told you that the outermost shell of an atom cannot fit in more than 8 electrons, or even when it has the capacity to accommodate more electron, when it has the capacity to fit in more electron, then also it will be having 8 electron, and this is known as the octet rule. And how this is happening we will discuss further. However, when the outermost shell of an atom is first shell or K shell, it cannot accommodate more than 2 valence electrons. Is that clear? This is known as the duplet rule or the duet rule. Then unless and until the earlier shells are filled up, electrons do not enter a new shell. That is, electron do not, if suppose they are K and L shell, like there are 5 electrons, unless and until K shell has 2, the 3 left over there cannot fill in the L shell. That is, unless and until there are 2 electrons in K, the L shell cannot get filled up. So 2 in the K shell and 3 in the L shell. So I had discussed about the different examples. I had given the example of helium, carbon, and have discussed about the electronic configuration of helium, beryllium, carbon and oxygen. Today we will proceed on further with the chapter. So moving on to the valence shell. What is a valence shell? Now we know the term has come again and again while we were discussing the electronic configuration. The outermost shell of an atom is called its valence shell. Now for instance, this is the example of carbon containing 6 electrons. Outermost shell, that is this shell, is known as the valence shell. This is the valence shell. So for example, I have also told you that electronic configuration of sodium with the atomic number 11. Now sodium has a symbol of Na. It has atomic number 11 and mass number 23. Is it clear? So when we write the electronic configuration of sodium, how will we write? We will write K, L and M shell. How do the electrons fill? We know K shell is the first shell, so the maximum number of electrons that can fit in the first shell will always be 2. How many electrons are left? 11 minus 2, it is still 9. In the second shell, how many maximum number of electrons can fit in? It is 8. So this is 8. Is it clear? 2 plus 8 is how many? 10. That is how 2 plus 8 is how much? It is 10. And now you can subtract this 10 out of the 11 atomic number, that is signifying the number of electrons. So that is how many? 1. So when we know the number of electrons, we can easily find out the electronic configuration. How will they accommodated in the different shells? So the electronic configuration of sodium is 2, 8 and 1. Is it clear? So here, out of the 3 shells, which shell is the outermost? That is M shell. If you draw the diagram, I will show you. You can see this is the sodium atom atomic structure. I've just told you that this is the K shell, this is the K shell, this is the L shell and this is the M shell, first, second and third. In the first shell, how many electrons? You can denote it, the electrons by crosses also, 1 and 2. 2 electron in the K shell and 8 electrons in the L shell. Is it clear? How many are left? Only 1 electron is left, that will be accommodated in the M shell. Now this outermost shell M, this shell is known as the valence shell. This is the valence shell of sodium atom and it has 1 electron. You can see it that it has just 1 electron. So the electrons that are present in the outermost shell of an atom are called the valence electrons. So how many electrons are valence electron in sodium? Only one electron. So similarly there are other examples as well. For example, we can take up other atoms. So you can see the atom of magnesium over here, and here magnesium has the atomic number 12. If you represent it like this is magnesium, the symbol Mg, and its atomic number is 12 and its mass number is 24. This is what is signified over here, or what is given over here. For that is how many electrons? It will be having 12 electrons and 12 protons as given over here, and similarly 12 neutrons. So inside the nucleus it is mentioned as 12 protons and 12 neutrons. Now the shells that are given, that is the energy levels. So what will be the electronic configuration if you mention? In the first shell it will be 2. Is it clear? In the first shell it will be 2. How many are left? 10 are still left. In the second shell it will be 8. 2 plus 8 is 10. And still how many are left? They are 2. That they will come in the third shell, that is M shell. So 2, 8, 2 is the electronic configuration of magnesium. So which is the valence shell of magnesium? It is again the M shell is the valence shell of magnesium. And how many electrons, valence electrons, are present? 2 valence electrons are present in magnesium. Is it clear? Sodium had 1 valence electron and magnesium has 2 valence electrons. Now you have understood the concept of valence shell and valence electron, that is the electrons in the outermost energy level of the atom, and this valence electron varies from number 1 to 8 in the atoms of different elements. That is, it is from 1 to 8. It can vary accordingly. In some it can be 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, till 8 it can be. And by these electrons, the valency of an element is determined. The valency of an element is the same as the valence number of valence electrons in a particular atom of an element. Is it clear? For example, I had told you about sodium. Sodium, the valence electron was 1. How many valence electrons were there in sodium? The sodium valence electron was just 1. So its valency is also 1. Similarly for magnesium, the valence electrons were 2. The valency is 2. So this is what is represented by the valence electron. And this valency is important because they are the electron. These electrons are involved in the chemical bonding. These are involved in the chemical reactions, how the reactions take place. For example, when hydrogen and oxygen react together to form water, what is the reaction that takes place? These are the valence electrons that are involved, which make the reaction possible. And the involvement of the inner electrons, these electrons, is not that much. Exactly, be it any reaction, whether it be reaction between carbon and oxygen, these electrons will to form carbon dioxide or carbon monoxide. Only the electrons which are present in the valence shell are responsible for the reaction. So the valence electrons participate in chemical reaction, whereas the electrons present in inner shells do not usually get involved in chemical reaction. So we have understood what valence shell and valence electron is, and these how valence electron determine the valency of an element and how they are important. They are the electrons involved in bonding. That is, when a chemical reaction takes place, what happens? New substances or new compounds are formed, which are known as the products. So how do these new compounds form? There is rearrangement of various atoms that is taking place. That is how new compounds are formed. So that is the process of bonding is taking place and helping the formation of these new substances. So let's proceed on with how these atoms of elements form molecules and then compounds. So next, let's discuss about how molecules of elements and compounds are formed. We already know what elements are. Element is a pure substance that is made of only one kind of atom. Only one kind of atom. And for instance, when we are talking about, say, helium, it will be just containing helium atoms and no other atoms. Or it is gold, it will be just made of gold atoms and nothing else. So that means they are just made up of single type of atoms. The number of those atoms can vary, but they will all be of one particular element. And an element can also be made when the same atom joins together to form a molecule. When the atoms join together, that the similar atoms of element join together, they form molecule. For example, two atoms of oxygen are combining over here to form oxygen molecule. Is it clear? You can see over here that two atoms of hydrogen have combined together to form one molecule of hydrogen. This is the hydrogen molecule. So this is the molecule of an element, hydrogen. H2 is the molecule of which element? Hydrogen. And similarly, you can see this, that one atom of carbon has combined with two atoms of oxygen. These are the two atoms of oxygen, and one atom of carbon has combined to form one molecule of carbon dioxide. This is one molecule of carbon dioxide. So this is a compound, CO2, while H2 was a molecule of an element. Is that clear? So what is a compound? We have studied that also. That is, a compound is a pure substance made up of two or more elements chemically combined in a fixed proportion by mass. If you have, so these are the two different elements that have combined together to give a molecule of a compound. There in the case of hydrogen, it was just single type of atom. Two atoms of the same element have combined together to give the molecule of an element. Is it clear? So why do atoms combine together? To form molecules in order to attain chemical stability. So they combine with one another according to the combining capacity, that is according to their valency, the number of electrons that are present in the valence shell. That is, the number of valence electron determine the combining capacity of a particular element. So what are certain elements do not react with other elements to form compounds? They are called as inert gases. So there are certain elements like helium, neon, argon, krypton, xenon and radon. They are called as noble gases or non-reactive elements or inert gases because they have a full outer electronic shell configuration complete. That if it is helium, it has atomic number 2. It will just have 2 electrons. Show it to you. So there are certain elements which do not react just because the outermost shell configuration is complete. So what is the necessity for an element to react or undergo chemical reaction? It is just in order to attain stability. While in the case of helium, neon, argon, krypton, you can see the outermost shell configuration. For instance, helium has atomic number 2. Its outermost shell configuration is 2. That is the first shell and the last valence shell also. And others you can see there are 8 in all of them. 8 in neon, 8 in argon and 8 in krypton also. So I had told you when I was discussing the Bohr-Berry scheme, the outermost shell configuration, no matter whether it is shell number 4, 5 or so on, that shell, if it is the valence shell, it has to have 8 electrons in its outermost shell. outermost orbit, or that particular shell will have 8 electrons. So this is this particular configuration, that is when the outer shell configuration is complete, then what happens? They are considered to be stable. They have 2 or 8 electrons in the outermost shell. These atoms have the outermost shell complete and they are considered to be stable. So they don't need to undergo any chemical reaction to attain stability. They are already in a stable position, so they are chemically unreactive. So don't need to react. Now they don't react with any other element or any other compound. Is it clear? So this is called inert gas electronic configuration or stable electronic configuration. So the atoms that do not have stable inert gas electronic configuration, they lose, gain or share electrons to become stable. This is what we will discuss when we learn about valency. So I've just told you what atomic stability is. That is, I've just told that why the inert gases are stable, or they are chemically unreactive. The stability of atom depends on what? Whether or not their outermost shell is filled with electrons. What do you mean by stable? A certain particular thing is stable. If you make a pencil stand, from which side? From the side of its lead, pointed lead, it will not be able to stand, or it will not be in a stable position. Any box you try to stand, it is possible to make it in that particular position when it is in the best position, that it will not fall. Similarly with the atoms also, they are in the best position, in the stable position, when they are not in a position to react further with anything. So this depends on what? The stability of atom depends on whether or not the outermost shell is filled with electrons. If the outer shell is filled, that is, I told you it is 2 or 8 to the first shell. If it is just of having one orbit or one energy level, for in the case of helium you have seen, or in other examples you have seen, they have 8 electrons in the valence shell, so they are stable. So atoms with unfilled outer shells are unstable and will usually form chemical bonds with other atoms to achieve stability. That is, they will undergo chemical reaction and form new substances which are known as products. And this happens by the formation of chemical bonds, and this is possible by what? By the gain, or by the gaining or losing or sharing the electrons, and then they will attain stability. Then they form chemical bonds during a chemical reaction and form products. Is it clear? So in the next lecture we will learn about valency. Allah Hafiz.